we go. It's 11 o'clock. I hope everybody's doing well during this difficult time. My name's Jeff Waller. I'm the co-author, co-creator of the 7 Mindsets. And today I'm going to talk to you about the time is now, which is our 7th mindset. And specifically, how do you change your perspective? How do we change our perceptions as we're going through maybe fear, maybe we're uncertain, maybe we're a little anxious. How do we change the way we're seeing things, and how do we put ourselves in a space where maybe we're feeling a little better? So before I get started, I would love for you to think about that. What are some things that you do? Perhaps you can share those in the text. Give us some information. I know I could probably use those as some guidance, but I'd love to know what you're doing to make yourself feel better, how you're kind of dealing with some of the stress and anxiety and fear that you may be feeling as we go through this tough time. But what I want to do first is talk a little bit about what we discussed last week, was leaving a legacy and how we allow our children and our students to not just live, but to thrive without us. And, you know, in the world today, there's so many things that we're trying to do. It can get overcomplicated. And we just boiled it down to 3 things. There's 3 gifts that we can give a young person that are going to allow them to survive and thrive without us. The first is a sense of purpose, right? That we give them a reason to find something that they can do with their life that matters to them, that's important. So at the end of their life, they can look back and feel good about their accomplishment. A sense of purpose is so, so important. And so we want to help them connect what they do with what matters to them. And it doesn't have to just be, you know, their profession. It can be obviously being a great parent. It's an amazing purpose in life, being a great friend, being a great husband, having a great marriage. There's so many things that we can connect the meaning of our life to give us a sense of purpose. So that's the first thing that's really important to give to our children. The second is a sense of significance. You know, we can have a purpose, but if we're not competent at what we do, if we don't feel respected, if we don't feel like we're having a contribution, it's hard to continue sort of the journey and make it through the tough times. So we want to make sure that we help our children understand who they are, what their strengths are, what their passions are, what their values are, what they want to accomplish, what matters to them, so they can connect what they do to who they are, and so they can be great at it, so they can feel competent, and they can feel like they have an impact, and they can be respected. And so it's really important that they perfect their craft. And so that's how we help them develop a sense of significance. And the final is a sense of belonging, that we take this journey with people that we care about, that we want to be around, that respect us, that include us, that we include, that make us feel good and give us all those other rewards that we get when we're part of a community. So that's it. Those are the 3 gifts. That's the way we leave a legacy that we can give ourselves in our own life, but also help our young people understand and give them those gifts as well. A sense of purpose, a sense of significance, and a sense of belonging. So that gets us to the discussion for today, how to change your perspective. And I want to talk about a term many of you've probably heard of called neuroplasticity. You may have read Carol Dweck's book called Growth Mindset, where it talks about, you know, the fact that our brains are malleable and that they can grow over time. But I just want to sort of give you my understanding of it and kind of how it makes sense to me and how we can then use it to help change our perspectives. In 1997, there was a new camera technology that was developed. And for the first time, we were actually able to, you know, look at what was happening with the brain as certain things were happening, as we were moving a body part, or maybe as we were experiencing certain emotions or doing certain things, we could observe the brain sort of acting and behavior and what was happening. And amazingly, 99% of what we know today about the human brain we've learned since 1997, and 80% of what we thought we knew was actually wrong. And perhaps the biggest misconception was that by sometime early after puberty, our brain was fixed, that we had become who we were going to become. We just had to kind of deal with that, and many people would just settle, and they wouldn't believe that it was possible that we could change. And what neuroplasticity taught us was that the brain's like plastic. It continues to change form and function throughout our lives. And one of the studies showed that every time we do something new, these tentacles in our brain connect, and they're called DSP, dendrite spinal protuberances. And every time they connect, that's our brain forming the pattern recognition or the muscle memory And I alluded to the fact that I drive to work. My office is about a mile and a half away, and every day I drive to work. And there's some days I can't even remember the drive. It's because I've done it so many times that it's so much in my muscle memory that it's actually kind of programmed in my subconscious. It's like think like a great basketball player who just shoots free throws after free throws, and they do that to get that pattern recognition, that muscle memory, so that they can hit that free throw in the most difficult, pressure-packed circumstances. And so all they're doing is building sort of muscle memory, pattern recognition. I one time I listened to a guy named Doug Bench talk many years ago, and he talked about these DSPs, these dendrite perturbances, and the fact that scientists had sort of estimated how many connections we could make, and then what the average human makes. And what that showed was how much of our potential that we're fulfilling. And the number they came back with was unbelievably large, but the best way I ever heard it described was that if you created if you wrote this number down and you got an 800-page book, size 10 font, and you put the number 1, and then you started writing zeros, those zeros would fill up an 800-page book, and then the last zero would leave the last page of the book and go on for another 63 million pages. That's how many connections that our brain is able to make. And the average human only makes about 0.001% of those connections. So you've heard that we only use 10% of our brain. The truth is we use 100% of our brain because we wouldn't be alive if we only use 10%. But we don't allow it to grow to its capacity at sort of a 0.001%. That just gives you an idea of how much opportunity, how much capacity that we're leaving on the table. And so that's what mindsets are all about. Perspectives is all about changing that sort of pattern, that neural pathway, how you look at certain situations. How can we change the way we perceive something so that we're always coming at it from a different perspective? And that perspective is going to affect the way we feel. It's going to affect the actions we take and the decisions we make. And if we're coming at it from better perspectives, we're going to take better actions and we're going to make better decisions. Decisions that are rooted in hope and optimism and high expectations. Perspectives that are rooted in an understanding of how important people are in our life and the connections that we make. Perceptions and understanding that we can grow through life and continually to get better and better. That we should constantly look at the things that are good and working in our life so we have grace and gratitude and a positive attitude. That we serve others and we want to have impact with our life and we want to do things that are in the best interest of everybody, and that we want to embrace every moment. And those are the types of mindsets that we want to sort of build in ourselves. And I'm just going to give you a few sort of tried and true techniques that have been working for many, many eons and will continue to work forever and ever. You've probably tried many of these, but I just want to reinforce these to you so that now with kind of an understanding of neuroplasticity, you can understand how the repetition of these things can really help you change your perspective in life. And so the first is affirmations. There's a great book, Chad Hemsteller. It's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And it's a great book about the importance of the language we use and how we talk to ourselves and how we're programming our perspectives and our subconscious to see situations that affect how we feel and affect the things that we do. But affirmations are just a great way to affirm the things that we want and the type of person that we want to be, and to say those things on a regular basis so that we can create that pattern recognition and that muscle memory so that when we're put to the test, we come at it things from a different perspective. We see ourselves differently. We see the world around us differently, and we make different decisions. The second is vision boards or goals. Anytime you put a dream down or a goal down, and maybe you put a picture of it and you see it and you can believe it, you're going to find the courage to start taking action against it. And so goal setting and vision boards the reason they work is because they're developing pattern recognition. They're building muscle memory on a different sort of better future for us. But you got to stick with it. You got to stay at a gratitude journal. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Every day before you go to bed, just write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Really think about them. Really appreciate them in your own life. Go to sleep. Make that be your last thought of the day. I guarantee you'll wake up in a better mood, and you'll just start to see that you start to look at things differently. You start to recognize all the gifts that you have in your life. The final thing I have is one that you probably haven't heard of unless you've read a book called The 5-Second Rule. It's something I've done recently that's helped me. whenever we decide or think about doing something, most of the times we allow ourselves to talk ourselves out of it. And the 5-second rule is just a way to get us to do things that are purposeful for us. And so all you do is when you think about doing something that normally you might talk yourself out of, you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you do it. And it's just this trigger mechanism that gets you to take action and be purposeful and constantly do things maybe that you're scared of or you wouldn't have done in the past that are meaningful for you and help you get towards your goals and your dreams in life. So that's it. That's how we change our perspectives. That's how we build muscle memory, pattern recognition in our own minds. I would encourage you to try one of those 4 techniques. And just see how it feels. See how your perspectives and attitudes change. Really give it all you got, but I really think it can help you. And I can't wait till next week when we get into our next session. You guys take care. Have a great week. Be strong and safe.